Mother Nature unleashes some of the greatest destructive forces on Earth. And her most devastating fury comes in the form of Category 5 hurricanes.
Hurricanes are a real common natural disaster. It can take an entire village off the map.
The worst hurricanes erupt with energy equivalent to a 10-megaton nuclear explosion every 20 minutes.
This situation could wipe out an entire village of people and all of their possessions and belongings. It's devastating.
In tropical island nations, like the Dominican Republic, storms can strand an entire population, severing access to basic survival resources.
It's a scenario in a developing nation where aid might not come for days or weeks.
The aftermath of a major hurricane is a life-threatening scenario that survival experts Cody Lundeen and Dave Canterbury will tackle as a team.
This is not a 72-hour search and rescue scenario. You have to learn to improvise, adapt, and overcome with what's available to you.
Their mission, to show what it takes to escape the ruin and survive.
An area that's been ravaged by a natural disaster could be game over for all of us. In a scenario like this, where a hurricane just came through, the first thing is going to be the shock of the moment, missing loved ones, all your resources swept away. As soon as you come back from that emotional and mental trauma, you start to gather the things that have usefulness for you.
A Category 5 hurricane can push a deluge of seawater over 100 miles inland, submerging entire villages.
In a natural disaster scenario, you end up with what looks like this.
To escape the flood and make it to the coast for rescue, Dave and Cody will use only what might be found in the aftermath of a hurricane.
We have to figure out what we're going to pick and choose from this disaster-stricken area in order to survive.
I'm going to grab this other piece of tarp over here.
There's that bed sheet. Maybe I can use that for something.
Naturalist Cody Lundeen has spent years perfecting the method of using anything on hand to increase survivability.
I used to dumpster dive when I was a kid, so here I am ready to rock and roll with trash. It's not a problem, it's an opportunity. It depends on how you look at it. Exploit whatever modern aspects you have at the time, improvise with indigenous things around the area, and head out for survival.
Definitely gonna take that. Good piece of mosquito net, we might need that. Look at the trash, man.
After nearly a decade in the Army, Dave Canterbury began living by his own strict survival checklist.
I look at what I call the 5 C's of survivability. Do I have a cutting tool? Do I have a combustion device? Do I have a cover? Do I have a container that is capable of boiling water to disinfect it? And do I have cordage? If I have those 5 things, those are my 5 priorities.
It's one nice thing about trash. There's, an opportunity everywhere you look.
That's a fact.
Looky what I found.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's totally soaked, but some of those inner layers have to be good.
Somebody's kitchen washed out, man. I got a couple of appliances over here. They might have batteries in them, man.
It's not my color, but I dig those flowers on it. That'll be good.
Let's talk about what we got here, man. I've got a definite potential cargo device right here in this bag. I can make a haversack out of it. I've got a metal container here that's pretty clean, boiling water. I've got some steel wool I found. I've got a 9-volt battery that I found, which could be a good, viable combustion device. What do you got over there?
I have a way to carry gear, a way to repair stuff and create stuff. I have water bottles for water that we can disinfect. I found some toilet paper, thinking for fire making. Notice a lot of the things I got in here are containers. The bed sheet's a container, the bottles are a container. Those are the things I'm looking for. Indigenous people's entire world revolved around container use.
Containers can carry the human water, but if not disinfected, water can be more deadly than the hurricane itself.
Improper sanitation is the #1 killer on planet Earth, even over warfare. You want improper sanitation? How about a storm that just blew through this area, blowing feces everywhere, contaminating the water, and now we have to deal with that.
There could be corpses or dead animals or anything else laying in this water, so the threat of protozoan and bacterial disease in the water is heightened 100 times during a natural disaster.
When I fill water from a static source, I have it about an inch or so under the surface. There's stuff that floats on top, and there's stuff that's stirred up from the bottom. So I find a real kind of clean zone a few inches down. This is not water that Dave and I can drink right now. It's horribly non-disinfected, but you can't disinfect what's not there. So we'll take whatever we can get, and we'll move on.
There's a pretty bag. You got everything, man?
I got everything.
When traveling in a survival situation, the first step is choosing direction.
In this area, the Dominican Republic, we know that south is going to head toward the coastline. It's pretty much common knowledge that around coastlines is where concentrations are of human habitation.
So that's our agenda, to go south and hit the coast. How we do that is the wild card.
One of the big problems with the Dominican Republic is there's such varied terrain and ecoclimates here. You can go from the palm trees on the coastline and the white sandy beaches into pine forest, down into jungle, and into desert. And that makes it very hard because it changes all of your survival priorities.
This is a minefield.
Cody's self-reliant philosophy includes independence from modern consumer goods, such as shoes. But here, each terrain change puts that way of life to the test.
This is classic limestone, eroded into hellish, shark-toothed shapes. My feet are soft because they're wet. So picture this piece of wet meat. It gets all soft and a little bit slimy. It's starting to fall apart like a corpse right before it rots. And then put it on a meat grinder of demonic spikes that have little razors upon those spikes.
All of that used to be the actual floor of the ocean, and that just amazes me. But that's why it's so jagged and so sharp, and that's what's giving Cody such problems on his feet.
It's Suckville. I'm going slow, and that's probably going to bum Dave out, but he's used to me going slow in some areas.
If I didn't wear any shoes, I'd be crying every 5 minutes, I promise you that.
I'm probably going to end up hog-tying Dave and taking his boots.
Thins out a little bit up here.
In the backcountry of large Caribbean islands, vast swaths of land are isolated from coastal moisture, turning a forest into a desert.
You know, when you think about the Dominican Republic and sandy beaches and jungle, well, when you can look around us now and it's dry as a bone right here. There's rocks and nasty stuff everywhere you look. It's a desert out here. And it's a dangerous desert.
And in a desert environment, hydration and then shelter become the new focus.
In a survival scenario, you have to prioritize what you do and when you do it. At this point in the game, if you've been walking for quite a few hours and you're becoming dehydrated, you've got water that you can't drink, your priority has to be to disinfect that water.
The signs and symptoms of dehydration, if someone's not getting enough water, are way beyond thirst. On my courses, students get irritable, they have a headache, and sometimes they vomit. As far as I know, Dave and I don't have a headache, we're not nauseous, and, well, he's cranky most of the time, but that's just Dave, so I know he's not dehydrated.
Yeah, this environment sucks.
I'm thinking maybe we can rig up right near that tree or something.
Okay.
We have the tarps.
Yep.
You know, we can put on the ground.
There's really not a whole lot of calories need to be spent to make this a sleepable shelter.
Spending the night on a bone-dry salt flat isn't ideal, but stopping to disinfect water before dehydration kicks in follows the most basic survival code.
It's going to take a little bit of ingenuity on our part to get a fire going to begin with. This battery and steel wool, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. We'll find out.
Dave's plan is to use steel wool to complete a circuit between the positive and negative poles of a battery he recovered from flood debris. Electric current incinerates the steel wool, hopefully generating enough radiant flame to ignite shreds of toilet paper.